So you all know that Thanksgiving is coming up soon. And imagine that you and your family and friends are going to a gathering and people are sharing stories and talking about the past and making jokes and having great conversations, but you're standing there looking around and feeling confused and trying to figure out what people are talking about. So you walk up to somebody and you say, "What's going on?" And they say, "Oh, it's nothing," and "I'll just tell you later," but they never do. And you would feel discarded, and that's how I feel. Many deaf people in every country all over the world have that same story to tell. So I'm here to share my story with you and what it's like to be deaf in a hearing world. I lost my hearing when I was 4 years old. I had a high fever. And my parents were very worried and concerned about my hearing loss and thought, how is she going to succeed in the future with her life? So they brought me to the hospital, and the doctors did an analysis and hearing tests and found out, okay, hearing aids would help me. It would help my life. And so they believed that and they expected it. So I got my hearing aids when I was 6 years old. And for the first time in my life, I was starting to hear sounds from cars on the street and people talking and the variety of sounds that the world makes. I grew up in an oral program in a mainstream elementary school. And the very first time I went into school, I sat there and I looked around. And I struggled to hear what my classmates were saying, and I missed so much information. I couldn't understand all that my teachers were saying, and when I hung out with friends, I would actually mimic their expressions and their moods and their body language, and I wanted to fit in that hearing social circle. For example, you know, the hearing girls would look really happy, and I didn't really know what they were happy about, but I just pretended and I'd say, "Oh, that's awesome." Or if they looked sad, I missed what was going on, I didn't know, and so I just walk up and hug them and go, "Oh, no." And I did the same thing with my family. They assume that I understand everything that's happening, but to be honest, I don't. I felt very sad and alone. Hearing aids don't mean that you understand and hear everything that's going on. It's not enough. Often I misunderstand things because the sounds are muffled. And I feel like something's missing. I felt like something was missing. Nobody around me really understood the struggle that I was going through and what I felt inside and the pain that I had. I was very frustrated. And I knew that I could do everything that hearing people could do. I wanted to be treated the same. When I transferred to Venado Middle School in 7th grade, I was so excited to see so many people there who looked like me, deaf people just like me. I was amazed at how easily they were able to socialize and converse and understand each other. I was enthralled with that beautiful language. As time went on and I learned sign language, it helped me to navigate my journey in two different worlds, deaf and hearing. I was finally able to have the freedom to socialize with my peers and act like a normal teenager. Sign language allowed me to grow and to connect with the deaf community at large. It helped me to overcome my shyness and my difficulty speaking with other people. At the oral school, I struggled with my subjects. But when I went into the Deaf and Hard of Hearing program, I learned new vocabulary in ASL, and it blew my mind. Like, for example, if the teacher signed butterfly, the sign is butterfly, and I could see that butterfly. I was amazed. For example, a mainstream teacher would maybe introduce a vocabulary word, and the interpreter would sign it conceptually, and I understood everything that was being taught. I had never been happier with my academic success ever, and my confidence grew. I remember one time, a long time ago, I met this Japanese lady who was signing in Japanese Sign Language, and I ran up to her and I started gesturing with her, and guess what? She understood everything I was saying. Even though we were foreigners to one another, Our movement of our hands created a beautiful bridge. And we simply understood our experiences and our shared struggles. Unfortunately, my family doesn't sign. I use my voice to interact with my family all the time, but it can be really exhausting. Even though I love them so much, I often dream that my family would learn how to sign. We would have such fewer problems and miscommunications and arguments. Research shows that deaf children's parents do not sign with their children. They have a hard time learning to sign because sometimes they're in denial that their child is even deaf. Or they want to make them into a normal hearing person. About 90% of the deaf population have hearing parents. And 88% of them do not know how to sign. I get it. I'm not alone. I know. But that result, seeing that statistic makes me deeply sad. All of my deaf friends often will tell me, oh, I wish my parents signed at home. Often they'll tell me stories about their communication barriers and the struggles that they have. I believe that all children, deaf and hearing, should form a strong bond of communication within their families. It's a basic human need. So before I close my speech, I would like to thank my parents for giving me the opportunity for a better life. I thank the DHH staff and the interpreters and the friends who have supported me as I've navigated this journey. I hope that tonight I have moved your heart to move your hands, to move our worlds, to be more together, closer together.